This podcast is part of the Listen Frederick Podcast Network. To learn more, visit listenfrederick.com.
The Fedora Files.
Hello and welcome to the Fedora Files. I am Gregory Fedora. Thank you for joining us. This episode is brought to you by the Happy Little Monster series of books that I've written, and that goes over all kinds of folklore monsters and mythical monsters from around the world. Gives you a little tidbit to get you started. Right now I have volumes 1 through 4 available on Amazon. I'm working on 5, 6, and 7. Got really cool artwork. I did all the work. I did the research, the artwork, everything. And now I want to also tell you about my newest book that is sponsoring this very video, Sasquatch and Me. Now, I've avoided Bigfoot for a while because I feel like he has a lot of publicity, but I also know that people love Bigfoot and want to know more about Bigfoot. This book is kind of a what if. I wrote it as though I went to the Pacific Northwest and I met a family of Bigfoot, and I ended up living with them for some time. So this is the what if story, Sasquatch and Me. It's got some stuff in there. It's got some artwork, again, original artwork by me, sketches and a little watercolor art throughout it. So check it out. I don't have a Patreon or anything, and the only thing that keeps me going and helping pay for the podcast and everything, all my videos that I do on YouTube, is selling my books. So if you could just check it out, it's on Amazon. I think it's $15 for the paperback. It's like 30 some for the hardback because it's like 200 pages. It's the longest one I've done, but it went through many rewrites and some edits. I had a few beta readers go through it who were into Bigfoot and folklore. So they looked it over, gave me some insight, and I re-edited some things. And so it's a kind of what if, kind of like, how Jane Goodall lived with the apes. This is if I, Gregory Fedora, lived amongst the Sasquatches and what I learned. But it's full of, like, I researched the crap out of, like, what people say Bigfoot does and did, and where he's located or she's located, because obviously you have to have some she's if there's a he's, or there would be no more of them. So there you go. That's it. Sasquatch and Me. Please check it out. Amazon. Buy it for yourself or a friend. It's a good read. The people who have read it said they found it very entertaining and insightful. So thank you to them. So anyway, so we're gonna delve into a mystery. The reason I introduced Sasquatch and Me in this episode is because this is an episode about Bigfoot, but a particular incident involving Bigfoot in Alaska. And that is what is known as the Portluck, Alaska incident. Now, if many of you don't know what this is, I'm sure some of you who are big into Bigfoot know this story, but I'm assuming there are some people who don't know it. So I'm going to go over some of the particulars about it. I like saying the word particulars. Anyway, so Portluck, Alaska. All right. It was established in 1787 by a man named Captain Nathaniel Portluck, because he was from England, and that's how the English were. They came to a place, said, I'm naming this place after me, because egos and such. So Mr. Captain Nathaniel named the place Portluck. It's on the Kenai Peninsula. Now, to understand this, Alaska is huge, and I want to explain how huge this peninsula is. Just this one particular part of Alaska where this Portluck, this little town, was established. It is over 24,000 square miles. That is bigger than some states in the United States. It's bigger than Maryland, bigger than Rhode Island, probably bigger than Delaware and some of the New England states. 24,000 square miles. That's huge. That's bigger than some countries. Okay. I'm just saying, because I mean, it's a huge area. All right. Alaska is ginormous. I want that in your head, how big this area is. Right. And a lot of it is just wilderness, unexplored. You know, there's places probably no human has ever set foot just in this little peninsula in Alaska. So it's huge. All right. So it was established in 1787, and right away there was reports of strange things happening and so on. Uh, the local area talk about a Bigfoot-like creature. I'm not going to try and pronounce it because it's an Inuit language, and if you've watched my shows, you know I am so bad at pronouncing these things when there's like more than two consonants next to each other. So anyway, I'd be an awful person to live in Iceland. I would be butchering my own language. But let's now fast forward ahead, because this is where it really starts getting interesting. Now, I found this interesting that, all right, in 1905, this is when things really hit off. Now, in the early 1900s, a lot of crazy crap was happening, cryptid-wise. Early 1900s, you had 1909, you had Theodore Roosevelt hunting down or preparing to hunt down the Snægaster. In 1905, that area. You also had the Van Meter visitor. So a lot of stuff was happening. You had spring Jack, you had all these things. A lot of cryptid crap was happening around the country and the world. But here in Port, I'm going to mess it up. Portluck. I want to call it Portluck for some reason, but Portluck in 1905, it was reported that all the workers left the cannery jobs due to something that was bothering the camp. They were kind of freaked out by stuff that was going on. They left. They came back the next season because it was more like at this point, it was just kind of like a cannery town, which they would only work at certain times of the year. They'd fish, they can the fish, and then they leave. So, but they were reporting some strange events. Uh, and they went, and then they came back following season, and they had a lot of fear and trepidation about what was going on in the town, and they were kind of wigged out about it. Not town, but the little camp. Uh, Between 1905 to 1920, it became a town. And now people were living there year round. It was a fishing village and cannering. They had hunters. These guys knew the area. They knew what bears were. They knew moose. They knew all kinds of stuff. So fast forward ahead to 1920, and the Anchorage Press reported that rumors began to spread of a creature hanging around a nearby mine. It was also a mining area because this was like Klondike, and there's gold in them there hills. So they had mining going on and all kinds of stuff. And they also said there were sightings of trees that had been ripped out of the ground by the roots, not just small trees, like big freaking trees, something. And if you've ever had to pull out a tree, I've had to deal with it. Like just even a tree this big can have a huge root system. And I've had to like try and pull that out. And it was hard to do. Maybe I'm just weak. I don't know. I got to go work out. But like these were not small trees. These were like trees over 6 to 8 feet, and something ripped them right out of the ground, roots and all. So something was going on, and that's not something bears do. And humans don't really do that either. They would cut the tree down, but something was ripping these things out. Now, that was weird enough, but nothing really bad. Then suddenly, in 1931, a logger named Andrew Kamluck, anyway, there's luck in his name, and obviously his luck ran out, died a mysterious death. Mr. Kamluck was purportedly struck over the head with a huge piece of logging equipment. Okay. And it was something far too heavy for a human to pick up. So something picked this thing up and bashed the dude, smashed his head. Okay. They said that they found blood nearby and like bloody footprints, handprints, and they were large. And a crane that could have lifted it, the man Kamluck's body was found 10 feet away from this crane. The crane would not have been able to move it. And this isn't in modern days, it's 1930s. So it's not like a fast moving crane. He would have had time to get out of the way. And so he was found dead, head smashed. Now, that same year, there was reports of hunters who'd come across 18-inch footprints while they were tracking moose. Okay, they were hunting moose for food. They reported that they had found signs of a struggle. These footprints led to a sign of struggle where the grass was matted down, and then some large creature had been drugged from the area. They said it looked as though this large-footed creature attacked a moose, fought it, killed it, and drug the carcass into the woods. Now, to understand, moose, if you're human, you do not want to face a moose. A moose has killed people. You're not going to win a fight hand to hand against a moose. Even when you go hunting for moose, you do it in at least two people, and you have weapons. You're not going to take out a moose with a slingshot. You're not going to take out a moose hand to hand with a knife. Those things are aggressive. So if you see a moose in the wild, don't go up to it, because they, especially bull moose, don't like feeling threatened, and they will take you out, and they're very dangerous. But so whatever it was, attacked a moose and drug it into the woods. Now, the Alaska Magazine reported that a school teacher who taught in the area in the 1940s recalled a number of cannery workers that just vanished. Okay, and this is where things got strange. They were out hunting sheep and bear, and these guys never came back. Eerily, one of the bodies was later found by the lagoon, completely mutilated and dismembered, like just tore apart. Now, at first you might say it was bear. Well, the thing about bears is they eat. Yeah, they may tear things apart, but this body was not eaten, and it wasn't bite marks. It was as if something grabbed him and ripped him apart. And that's what the report is. Someone or something physically tore this person apart and left them there at the lagoon, almost as a warning to the rest of people to get the flip out, get out of there. Okay, so that is when the town decided we're done, and in 1950 the town, they left. Now, some people say the reason they left was because highways and stuff were coming. Well, there's still no highway that goes into this peninsula at all. So there was no reason. And the area that we're at is really good for fishing. The location's great for trapping. It's prime area to be developed and used by us humans, but something happened, and locals still talk about it and say, yeah, there was a Bigfoot that took out these people. Now, so in 1950, the town was abandoned and nature reclaimed it. They say now there's only a couple buildings from the original town that are still there. Some equipment still there. I mean, they didn't just abandon it, they left. They've just left everything. They even like take expensive stuff, expensive equipment you would think they'd want to take with them. Be like, hey, this is worth some money. No, they just left it. They're like, we're out. It's eerie. And the locals, native, the Inuit people, as well as the local people, do believe that Killer Bigfoot had something to do with this. Now, you'd be like, okay, that was 1950s. Yeah. But things are still being reported. Now, some local trappers and fishermen have gone back to the area, in not necessarily on Portluck, but near the area, and have established little huts for trapping and fishing and stuff for the area. And they've reported things attacking their homes during when bears would be hibernating, because bears hibernate in the winter, and there's been shown of creatures, some large creature attacking these homes. Recently, the TV series Expedition X, which is produced by Josh Gates, I love that man. He does some great work. I love his shows. Been a big fan of his for a long time. They went back to the area because of these claims that these people have had interactions with a large, aggressive bipedal creature. And what was interesting is I watched the episode in preparation for this, because I wanted to see what they found. Now, they heard some kind of whistling noises, like they were deep in the woods and they were getting noises of some things communicating with each other through a whistling sound. They didn't know what it was, but that's what they heard. The other thing, the most crazy thing was during one of their night hunts, and they didn't really hunt. They kind of hunkered down because they were nervous about what was out there. They stayed in an area, but something tripped their barrier. And the barrier was pretty far out because they were like, something tripped. They found what appeared to be some large creature walking through the area and had tripped the alarm system, and whatever it was took off. Well, they launched a drone with a thermal camera. A thermal camera finds heat signatures. And what the thing caught was a large bipedal thing. I mean, if it was a dude, it was a big dude running in the woods, and it was above, and they could see its movements, and it was like going through, and they don't know what it was. Whatever it was took off, and this was like in like 2 to 3 feet snow, and this thing was not hindered in the least by this. It was going through in it, and they found like something, like not necessarily footprints because it was snow, but it was big holes where you could see leg markings. Whatever it was took off running and was large and didn't like the noise it heard. So what happened in Portluck? I don't know. What do you think happened? Do you think it was just bears? Because that's one of the things people say is, oh, it was bears. But these people knew what bears were, and I think they would have hunted the bears down and killed it. And bears don't usually take a body, tear it apart, and leave it kind of as a warning to get the flip out of my area. They would kill the person and eat it, but this person was not eaten. In all the instances, whatever the people who were killed or vanished were not eaten or found eaten, they were just killed. So could have been bears, maybe, but if you research bears, that's not their MO. But what do you think it was? Would you be interested to go to Portluck and spend the night? See what happens. I wouldn't. I'm a wimp. Anyway, so there you go. Thank you for stopping by. Remember, check out my book, Sasquatch and Me. When you purchase it, it's only $15 for the, I think it's only 15, might be 16 for the paperback, 30 for the hardback. And if you want me to sign it, send me a message. I can get you a copy, sign it, and it might have to be I think it could still be around 15 cents, but I have to get it, sign it, and then ship it to you. So, shipping cost, it might be like 18 or 19 to get signed. Sorry, but I need it. Daddy needs new toys or something. Anyway, well, thank you for stopping by. And remember, as always, stay safe and keep searching.
The Fedora Files.
Check out fedoracrt.com today.